Assalamu alaikum, grade 8. Welcome to our Islamic class. Children, in the last session we have completed Unit 8, Chapter 3. Today we will start with a new lesson, that is Unit 8, Chapter 4, Ayyub, the Prophet of Patience and Thankfulness. In this lesson we will study the life story of Ayyub alayhi salam. Our lesson objective is to explore the lessons that can be learned from the life story of Prophet Ayyub alayhi salam. Let's begin. Ayyub or Job was a descendant of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Means he came from the lineage of Ibrahim alayhi salam. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Suratul An'am, and among his progeny, among the descendants of Ibrahim alayhi salam were Dawood, Sulaiman, Ayyub, Yusuf, Musa, and Harun. Ibn Ishaq, a great Muslim historian, said, Ayyub is son of Mus, son of Razih, son of Al-Ais, son of Ishaq, son of Ibrahim ibn Asakir. Another Muslim scholar said, Ayyub's mother was the daughter of Lut. So here they are throwing light that Ayyub alayhi salam was from the lineage of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ayyub becomes messenger. Ayyub alayhi salam was one of the important prophets whom the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent as a messenger to Bilad Sham, the Levant or present Syria. Now, all the messengers were prophets, but not all the prophets were messengers. Only few prophets were messengers. We have studied this in earlier classes. So Ayyub alayhi salam was one of the prophet who was sent as a messenger by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the country of Sham, that is present Syria. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Suratul Nisa, we sent inspiration, that is revelation, to Nuh and Ismail, Ishaq, Yaqub, and the tribes to Isa, Ayyub. When Ayyub alayhi salam was chosen to be a prophet, he started to teach people about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his religion. Ayyub alayhi salam started preaching the message of Islam to his people. He advised the people to do good deeds and shun evil, that is, avoid sins and give up bad deeds. As usual, like all other prophets, very few people believed in his message in the beginning. Means in the initial stage, very few people started to follow him. Gradually, the number of his followers started to increase. Allah's favors upon Ayyub. Here we shall learn how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed Ayyub alayhi salam. Prophet Ayyub alayhi salam was a prosperous man. He was a wealthy person. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him all kinds of goodness, riches, wealth, and bliss, that is, joy and happiness. He was blessed with a big family, a faithful and beautiful wife, seven boys and seven girls. He also had many friends who always gathered around him, means they were always with him. He was also the owner of a gigantic business, means he owned a huge and vast business. He had money. He had numerous barley and wheat fields. He had many farmlands of wheat and barley, hundreds of slaves and servants. He had physical strength, means he was strong, fit, and healthy, a healthy person. He had horses and livestock, all kinds of farm animals, the cattle, the cow, buffalo, chicks, and so on. Now, all that lasted for 50 years. All these favors from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all these blessings that were bestowed upon him by the Almighty lasted for 50 years. Yet his finest bliss was his great faith in the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His perfect joy, his ultimate happiness was his faith, his iman in the Almighty. Now, Prophet Ayyub tested. In his infinite wisdom, in his perfect wisdom, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose to try Ayyub alayhi salam. He chose him to test him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala afflicted him with many calamities. He was befallen with many difficult situations in his life. One day, his big farm was attacked by thieves, by robbers. They killed many of his servants and carried away all his cattle forcibly. The robbers, they killed the servants of Ayyub alayhi salam, they attacked his field and carried away all his cattle forcefully. Prophet Ayyub alayhi salam accepted what had happened to him and praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, whatever happened, he accepted that, and in that situation also he praised the Almighty. After some time, the roof of his house fell in, and many of his family members were crushed and they died. Just imagine such a big tragedy. Prophet Ayyub alayhi salam in such situation was shocked. But he held fast to his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Means he was shocked. So many of his family members they died. But his faith was not shaken. In fact, it became more strong. He remarked that position and children were the gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even we should learn from his example that whatever you have is by the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if he had taken his things away, means if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes something from you, it was useless to lament, that is, to cry over their loss. Means if something is taken away, you bear a loss, you should not sit and cry. In fact, you should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and accept whatever He has done, because He gives and He takes. We are just the caretakers of His blessings. We are not the ultimate owners. The ultimate owner is the Almighty. Prophet Ayyub alayhi salam was an example of humility, faith in Allah and patience. Means despite of having all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was humble. He was not arrogant. And in all the situations of his life, he was faithful. And he practiced patience. He was afflicted with so many calamities, but he never uttered a single word of complaint. Just imagine yourself in his situation, or if you lose something, what would we do? Yes, we would sit and cry, we would complain and blame others. But we should learn from his example that in the toughest situation, in the most difficult conditions of his life, he never uttered a single word of complaint. In fact, he was patient and he thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time. Now, as a further test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he became very sick. He became very ill and was covered with loathsome sores. Loathsome sores is disgusting and something that you would hate. He suffered from a skin disease. Some said his entire body was covered with sores to the point that he became crippled. Some said that he was covered with sores from his head to toe and he became disabled. He was not able to move, to walk. Some went as far as saying that his flesh started to fall off his body. Just imagine how painful it would have been for him. His false friend attributed his afflictions to sin. Now, some of his friends, what did they say? That he is suffering so much, he's been afflicted with so many calamities because he he must have done many sins. But that was far from the truth. That was not true, because prophets are pious and righteous people, isn't it? They are without major sins. Means they did not commit major sins. Nobody truly sympathized with him as his wife did. Means except for his wife, nobody was there to support him. But all these calamities and afflictions and difficulties made Ayyub alayhi salam more thankful and patient. He became more grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he practiced patience. What should a Muslim do when another Muslim becomes sick? As Muslims, what should we do when our fellow brothers and sisters or friends, relatives fall ill? It is the right of the Muslim to visit the other Muslim when he or she falls ill. It is the right of one Muslim on another Muslim to be visited when he or she falls ill. Offer the sick help he or she needs. Whatever help a sick brother or sister or relatives or friend need, we should support them. Make a sincere dua. Whenever we visit any sick person, we should make a sincere dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant them health and cure them, as well as at the same time we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from all kinds of illness. Exemplary patience. The patience that was practiced by Ayyub alayhi salam is considered to be a desired model. He lost everything, all money, his children, even his health, but still he was patient and his faith became more strong. It is reported that Ayyub alayhi salam's wife once asked him to implore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure him. Once the wife of Ayyub alayhi salam asked him to plead Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant him health and cure him and have mercy on him. He asked her, Ayyub alayhi salam asked his wife, how many years have we lived in prosperity, happiness, and joy? She replied, 80 years. He said, I feel ashamed to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before we spend an equal period in trial and difficulty. Ayyub alayhi salam said he didn't feel appropriate to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant him health before spending an equal period in trial and difficulty. The historians gave several reports about the period of time which Ayyub alayhi salam spent in the calamity, spent in his difficulty. Wahab ibn Murabi said 3 years. According to his view, they spent 3 years in their calamity. Anas ibn Malik said 7 years and few months. Others said 8 years. Others said 18 years. During these years, Ayyub alayhi salam was silent. During the difficult situations, during his illness, he was silent. He never complained, never uttered a word of complaint that why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala afflicted me with so many calamities. In fact, he became more patient and he never voiced out his pain and distress. Children, I'll conclude this session over here. Today we have learned how Ayyub alayhi salam was chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be a messenger. Then the favors that were bestowed upon him by the Almighty Allah, and the different calamities that he was afflicted with. And what lessons did we learn? Lesson of humility, that he was humble, he practiced patience in all the situations, and his faith was strong. See you all in the next session.